Pluto Runs Away is a 1999 Disney cartoon. I watched this as part of Disney's House of Mouse episode Pluto versus Figaro. Of course, it fits in very well there, but I think even on its own, it's quite delightful. It starts off with Pluto being a good boy and Mickey giving him a bone. But Mickey says that you can have this bone with the caveat that you don't dig up the yard. Needless to say, Pluto digs up the yard and Mickey punishes him by taking the bone away. Pluto feels very disheartened, he feels very put out, so he runs away. And while he runs away, he bumps into Pete the dog catcher. And Pete the dog catcher is very excited about this because he grabs Pluto and says, "You look like a digging dog. Come into my backyard and dig me a pool and then a hot tub." And he begins to treat Pluto really badly. He promised Pluto he'd get a steak. And what he actually meant was, well, I won't say exactly what, but promises were not kept. And Pluto begins to realize that even though Mickey had disciplined him for being naughty, his life with Mickey was actually very cushy and cozy and actually living the dream, basically. Of course, he's a very well looked after dog. Mickey obviously loves Pluto, but his new life with Pete is awful. Will he ever get back to Mickey? I'm not going to say, of course, but it's pretty predictable. But I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a very kind of the outcome is predictable. I feel the development of the narrative is predictable. Based just on the title, I hadn't expected Pete to capture him or force him to dig anything. And the message became very clear very quickly. There's also a quote in this that I love. And the quote is, "Even though I sometimes discipline you, it doesn't mean I don't love you." I think that is so important because when you're a child, obviously the target audience, if you're being punished by your parents for whatever reason, of course it can feel like they don't love you. How could you punish somebody if you love them? But obviously it's the classic overused phrase, "I'm doing it for your own good," which of course is essential. Children need to be taught as early as possible that if you do something you shouldn't, there are consequences to your actions. And that quote there, I think, is really important for saying to children, it just because your parents punish you, typically it doesn't mean they don't love you. There will unfortunately be some pretty horrific, exceptions to that. But I think it's a really sweet episode. Pluto's little happy face when he first gets the bone, he's just so ecstatic. And then when he changes and runs away, it's a stark contrast. And I think it's very effectively done. And I really thoroughly enjoyed it. If you're a fan of Mickey Mouse or Pluto cartoons, Pluto Runs Away is absolutely one that I thoroughly recommend.